Hello, my name's Shannon, and this is Vinyasa 1. We're going to do 7 poses today, so let's get started. We're going to come to all fours in the middle of our mat. We're going to start with one-legged King Pigeon. I'm going to ask that you take your back toes, curl them under, and lift your hips up and back into downward dog. Pedal it out here. Take a few nice deep breaths. Just warming up the hips and getting ready. On the next inhale, we're going to lift the left foot up behind us, and then we're going to bring it forward, setting it, our knee between our hands. Having our knee face the front of the mat, our hands on either side of the mat, placing our back knee flat on the mat and the top of our foot flat on the mat. We're going to distribute our weight between our two hands and try and keep our hips square to the earth. You may find it's more comfortable to take a folded blanket and place it underneath your hip so that you have some support, so that your hips don't roll over to one side or the other and they stay nice and square. Taking a few deep inhales and exhales, we're going to soften into this pose. And if that feels good to you, on our next inhale, we're going to start to walk our hands out towards the front of the mat, stretching out long, lengthening through the spine, through the crown of our head as we fold forward, finding space and bringing our elbows to the mat. And if that feels accessible and comfortable to you, we're going to eventually move until our the forehead touches the mat. Taking a few deep breaths here. On our next inhale, bringing our palms back underneath our shoulders, lifting our chest up and back, engaging our core. We're going to start to lift, shift our hips up and back. We'll move our blanket to the other side. And back to all fours. We're going to curl our toes under, shift our hips up and back on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to draw our knee forward, placing it between our palms, setting our knee down, our back knee down, and placing our back foot flat on the mat, the top of our back foot flat on the mat. Keeping our hips square to the earth. If that feels comfortable to you, we're going to slowly start to move our front knee to the side of the mat and bringing our flexed foot forward so that it's parallel to the front of the mat. Inhaling and exhaling, keeping our shoulders square and our hips square. You may find it's more comfortable to put a blanket underneath your hips to give yourself some stability and to ensure that your hips stay square. Enjoying a few deep inhales and exhales here. And then if that feels good to you, on our next inhale, we're going to start to walk our hands out towards the front of the mat, stretching out long and eventually finding the floor and resting our forehead on the mat. And I'm realizing you probably can't even see me at this point, but that's what I'm doing. Couple deep inhales and exhales here, releasing into the posture. Keeping our back knee lifted, our back foot, top of our back foot flat on the earth. On our next inhale, using our core to bring ourselves back up, placing our hands flat on the mat on either side of the knee, and then shifting our hips back and drawing our knee back to an all four position. Moving our blanket out of the way. We're going to take a folded blanket, folded towel, and place it at the front of our mat. We're going to bring ourselves closer to the edge of the front of the mat, so that, I'm going to see if I can do this so that you can see me better. There, I think that works a little bit better. And we're going to be on all fours here at the front of the mat. And then we're going to curl our toes under, shift our hips up and back into downward dog. Raising our left leg, we're going to bring it up and place it between our hands at the front of the mat. And we're going to drop our back knee into a nice low lunge, placing the top of our back foot flat on the mat. We're going to make sure our towel is available to us, and we're going to keep it at the front of our mat so that when we need it, it's there for us. We're going to take our hips, shifting our hips back. We're going to straighten our front legs, flexing that front foot, and enjoying a runner's stretch right here. Bringing your knee and nose together. Breathing into this posture, enjoying a lengthening through the back of your leg. A few deep inhales and exhales here. And then on your next inhale, we're going to roll the foot forward, and we're going to step onto that towel. Then keeping two blocks handy, we're going to shift these blocks underneath our groin and upper thigh area. And then we're going to take our back leg, lengthening it out long, and take our front leg and slowly start to move it towards the front wall. Keeping our core engaged, keeping our hips square to the earth. On every exhale, we're going to lengthen just a little bit further. Keeping our back foot engaged, and our front foot releasing towards the front of the room. And then if that's accessible to you, then we can engaging our core, bring our chest up and lifted, bringing the crown of our head towards the ceiling and our hands to our hips. Enjoying a few nice deep breaths here and just softening into the posture. And then after we've stayed here for about a minute, we're going to bring our hands back, palms down to the earth. We're going to engage our core and bring our leg up and back and come back into all fours. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's get our towel set back up at the front, our hands near the front of the mat, curl our toes under, lift our hips up and back into downward dog, walk our dog for a minute and get the blood flowing again. Raise our right leg up and then bring it up to the front of the mat between our hands. Lowering our back knee down to the mat, placing the back foot, top of the foot flat on the mat into a low lunge. From here, we're going to grab our blocks. Well, wait, first we're going to shift our hips back into runner's lunge, flexing the front foot and bringing our nose to our knee, feeling a nice stretch in the hamstrings and our calf. Breathing into this posture. And then placing our foot back on the floor, taking the blocks, placing them underneath our thigh and our groin area. And then placing our foot on the towel in front of us. And then slowly starting to lengthen that foot out in front of us as we inhale and exhale, softening into the posture. Keeping our front knee lifted up towards the ceiling, keeping our back leg engaged. Taking a few deep breaths here. Coming only to the point of resistance, not pushing too far. We don't want to go too fast, too far, too soon. And if that feels good, then we're going to lift from our chest up to the front of the room, up and lifted. Lift the crown of our head up to the ceiling and bring our hands to our hips. Couple nice deep breaths here, softening into the posture. On our next inhale, we're going to place our hands back on the earth. And on the exhale, we're going to bring our foot up and around and back, landing back into all fours. And then removing the blocks and setting them aside. From here, we're going to come to the middle of the mat, cross our ankles behind us, and come to an easy sit position. Bringing our feet out in front of us into staff. Making sure the blood's flowing. Windshield wiper in our feet, whatever it does to get that all back and feeling good. Now we're going to try another posture called cow face. We're going to take our right leg and tuck it up underneath and bring our left leg and crossing it over our right leg, bringing our feet towards the back of the mat, knees to the front of the mat, and stacking our knees on top of each other. And bringing our flexed feet up towards the front of the mat, equal distance apart from our hips. Sitting on our sit bones nice and tall, engaging our core, bringing our belly in towards our spine, lifting from the crown of our head, finding some space here. Taking a few deep breaths as we soften into this posture. And then we want to take our towel, bring it into a long tubular shape. Take the opposite arm of the leg that's on top, so that would be our right arm. Grab the towel at the end and let the towel hang down. And then straighten the arm up towards the sky. And then slowly bend the elbow and let the towel drop back as if you're patting yourself on the back. Bring a nice strong arm up by your ear, elbow towards the ceiling. We're going to take our left arm and thumb down, bringing it around. We're going to grab the bottom of the towel and slowly start inching the hands towards each other to meet in the back. We want nice, strong arms. We want the elbow up towards the ceiling, one elbow up towards the ceiling and one elbow aimed towards the floor. Lifting up through the crown of our head, keeping our core engaged, our belly towards our spine. Inhaling through our nose, exhaling through our mouth. One more time through our nose, exhaling through our mouth. Taking a few deep breaths here, relaxing into this posture. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. And then we're going to release our hands, bringing them back to the floor. We're going to shift our hips back, allowing our feet to come out in front of us, back into staff pose, stretching out our legs. Now we're going to do the other side. We're going to take our right leg, tuck it up underneath, take our left leg and bring it to the top. Oops, wait, I think I just did the opposite. Take our left leg, curl it underneath, and take our right leg and take it to the top. Resting our knees on top of each other. This time we're going to take our left hand, taking our nice rolled towel, Bringing our left hand, the towel in the end of the hand at the end of the towel. We're going to lift the hand straight up towards the sky and then pat ourselves on the back. Taking our right hand, thumb down around to the back of them, to our back, we're going to start to grab the towel and slowly crawl our fingertips until they reach and they meet together. We want a nice strong arm up by our ear, elbow pointing towards the sky, and our other elbow close at our side and pointing down towards the ground. We're going to take a few nice inhales and exhales here. Making sure we have a nice engaged core, lengthening through our spine and lifting through the crown of our head. Relaxing into the pose. On our next inhale, we're going to release our hands. Let our hands fall to the back, shifting our weight back, and then bringing our feet out in front of us. Shaking them out, getting the blood flow back to them. Nice deep breaths. Next, I want to ask you to cross your ankles and bring yourself forward onto all fours again. And then find your way into a standing posture, into Tadasana. From here, we're going to take our feet a little bit wider than our normal Tadasana stance towards the edge of our mat. And then we're going to rotate our toes so that they come to a 45-degree angle facing to the side. We're going to lengthen through the spine, stretching out long, reaching through the top of our head, lengthening our spine, grounding into our feet, all four corners of our feet, nice and solid. And then we're slowly going to start shifting our hips back and down, reaching towards the ground. Some of us may find that as soon as we get close to the ground, our heels start lifting, and in which case we might want to put a blanket underneath our heels so that our heels are flat onto the earth. And then shifting our weight back and dropping our tailbone towards the ground. And then taking our elbows and putting them right in front of our knees, putting our hands in prayer position, using a little bit of pressure. We're going to push our knees out to the side and engage those legs nice and strong, staying nice and solid on our feet, lifting through the crown of our head, engaging our core, staying nice and tall in the spine. Enjoying some deep inhales and exhales here. On our next inhale, we're going to place our hands out in front of us, roll forward, release our knees to the ground, coming back into all fours, moving the blanket. We're going to take it now and fold it into thirds so we get a nice rounded, long noodle. And we're going to place that between our thighs behind us, between our heels. We're going to take our knees and bring them closer together while we're moving our feet out to the outsides of the mat and shifting our weight back towards our heels as we lower ourselves down, keeping our shins on the outside of our thighs. Using a blanket to create some space so we don't put too much pressure on our knees. Taking our feet and making sure they're facing outward, giving ourselves a nice rotation there. Engaging our core, lifting through our spine. We're going to take a few deep breaths here. hero's pose. For some of us, that might not be completely accessible. You can take a block or 2 blocks and put that under here, whatever you need to feel comfortable in this pose so you don't feel any tension on your knees. We want to keep our knees close together, keep our shins on the outside of our thighs, our feet turned in a 45-degree angle. Lifting up through our chest, through the crown of our head, we're going to draw our hands behind us, flat behind us, and we're going to start to move backwards, enjoying a front stretch through our quadriceps, and moving until we find a bit of tension and not pushing beyond that. We want to be very careful to protect our knees in this pose. In through the nose and out through the nose. Nice deep belly breaths. Making sure we're in a pose that's comfortable for us and not pushing beyond our comfort zone. For some people, they may be able to go all the way to the floor. Others will have to stop long before we get there. Whatever's comfortable for you. Reaching back through the crown of the head and relaxing into the pose, using your breath to soften. Staying here for a few more breaths. Then we're going to engage our core and lift from our chest, bringing ourselves back into a seated posture, and then shifting our hips up, protecting our knees, and bringing ourselves back to all fours. Moving the blanket. We're going to unfold it so that now we just have one nice, solid, strong edge. We're going to bring that edge to the back of the mat. We're going to cross our ankles and we're going to come back to a seated position, an easy sit pose. Putting our tailbone on the edge of the mat, allowing our hips to roll forward and our knees to fall below our hips. From here, we're going to do Baddha Konasana, which is bound angle pose. We're going to take the soles of our feet. We're going to bring them together in front of us, and we're going to start to pull them towards our inner thigh and towards our groin. Lifting from the crown of our head, engaging our core, bringing our belly towards, or pulling our belly towards our spine. Taking a few nice deep breaths here. We're going to grab the front of our feet and we're going to open the insides of the tops of our feet, kind of like a book. Just allow them to fall open a little bit. And then on the exhale, we're going to just gently pull our knees towards the earth. So on inhale, we're lengthening through our spine, lifting the crown of our head, and our exhale, we're just releasing our knees just a little bit closer to there. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. For some of you, you might find it possible to just take your hands out in front of you, and on the next inhale, reaching with your palms of your hands, stretching your fingers out long, and enjoying a little bit more of a stretch on the inner thighs. But only going to your comfort zone and not past. From here, we're going to engage our core, lifting ourselves back up, rolling to the back of our sit bones and extending our legs out long, checking them out a little bit, taking the blanket, moving to the side. Now we're going to move ourselves to the middle of the mat, facing the long waist of the mat. We're going to take our feet and bring them to the corners of the mat, flexing our feet, keeping the heel of our foot on the mat. I find it much more comfortable to do that. It's hard for me to put the heel of my foot on the hard floor. We're going to lift from the crown of our head and lengthen through our spine, and then roll our hips up and over while we reach with our fingertips towards our shins, our ankles, or our feet. We're reaching up through our crown, rolling up over our hips and reaching with our hands, enjoying a nice inner thigh stretch here. Inhaling up, exhaling, folding forward. Keeping a nice long spine here. Finding a little bit more space with each exhale. And for some of us, it might be comfortable to take your hands and take your palms, your hands flat towards the earth and stretch out long. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Resting in this posture for about a minute. Just finding a nice release in the inner thigh and the groin. And then on the inhale, lifting your chest back up, bringing your knees back together, coming back to the middle of your mat to a nice seated posture, and saying namaste.